In Easton, Pennsylvania, a community is shattered and in turmoil when a devoted father and celebrated DJ is shot. As the sounds of gunfire reverberate, questions arise. What could have driven someone to want to hurt this cherished father? As detectives embark on this complex investigation, they unravel a web of deceit. What happens when love becomes fatal? This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast with Master of Manipulation.
November 23rd, 2012. It's Friday evening in Easton, Pennsylvania, a charming city on the western shore of the Delaware River.
The city of Easton has some very old history. It's a small but fairly populous town.
When you drive through it, you feel like it's one of those places you'll see in a Hallmark movie.
It is very peaceful.
And on the night after Thanksgiving, many Easton residents are finishing up their Black Friday shopping.
Easton has been revitalized. There are so many wonderful restaurants and businesses in the downtown area.
Susan Thornton, however, is at home, waiting for her friend Irvin Holton to arrive.
Irvin Holton was a DJ, and Susan Thornton had agreed that Irvin could use her car to get all the equipment he needed to an event that Friday night.
They were good friends. She was helping them out.
And about 5:40, Susan gets a call from Irvin saying that he's arriving.
Hey, you almost here?
Yeah, I'm walking up now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be right there.
Yeah.
But suddenly, she hears a series of loud bangs.
Every year on Black Friday, there's an event in town to kick off the Christmas season.
It's a very celebratory time in downtown Easton. It's not uncommon for fireworks to be lit off.
But when she steps outside, she realizes that what she heard wasn't fireworks.
Oh my God, Irvin!
Susan opens the door and finds Irvin in a pool of blood.
He was shot multiple times.
43-year-old Irvin Holton was the kind of person who made friends everywhere he went.
He's a great guy.
He was always positive, always happy, the kind of person that anybody would want to spend time with.
Irvin lived in Easton, Pennsylvania for the past 20 years.
He liked the slower pace of life there compared to where he grew up in Washington, D.C.
He considered it his home.
Easton was also where he made a name for himself as a DJ.
Everybody refers to Irvin as DJ E, and he was known throughout the community.
When you came to one of his parties, everybody knew you was going to have a really great time.
But Irvin was adored by the community for more than just his DJing skills.
He was a giving person. He loved to entertain, not just for the local clubs, but also volunteering his time and his services for different parties and events.
He was doing things for people's weddings, just out of the goodness of his heart.
But there was something DJ E loved even more than performing: his family.
He was a single dad raising his daughter alone.
Irvin took his role as a father very seriously. He made sure that aside from DJing, he took a factory job just to make sure that she had everything she needed.
She was just his whole world.
Because of his efforts, she excelled and was an honor student in her class.
Baby girl, a jacket.
Oh, thank you, Dad.
You're welcome.
But between raising his daughter and working 2 jobs, Irvin was left with little time for a love life until he met Janice.
Janice Walters was working as a waitress at a local restaurant.
She was working an event that Irvin was DJing, and he caught her eye.
Can I request a song?
Anything for you. He has this presence of like a local celebrity.
He really showed you what it means to be a cool type of guy.
I bet you get girls' numbers all the time.
I usually don't call back, but for you, I will.
And before long, they were spending all of their free time together.
From the moment that Irvin met Janice, They were inseparable. It's like it just was magic. They had so much of a connection.
And to Irvin, Janice appeared to be the perfect addition to his family.
He was really building the life he had always wanted.
Oh my God!
But now, Irvin Holton has been shot down on the doorstep of his friend Susan's home.
Her first thought is to try to render him some type of aid.
Well, she grabbed anything she had handy to try and stop the bleeding.
Help! Call 911!
Thankfully, her neighbor was home and heard her yelling.
He's been shot!
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Stay with me!
911.
Somebody got shot! Somebody got shot!
All right, where was he shot at?
He looks like he's shot in the chest. He died, man.
Easton police officers arrive at the scene within minutes, but they're already too late.
Police find Susan cradling Irvin lifeless in her arms.
Yeah. It's the county.
What's up?
Okay, there's been a shooting in Easton.
His person alive or dead?
Dead.
Irvin was declared dead at the scene, and homicide investigators were immediately called in.
And it doesn't take them long to rule out one theory.
When investigators searched Irvin's pockets, they realized that he had a wallet full of $150.
It was apparent that this was not a random robbery.
He was shot multiple times.
The last shot was fired at close range.
This was an execution.
Stay with us for more of this gripping story. We will return with more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
43-year-old single father Irvin Holton was living his dream in Easton, Pennsylvania as a popular DJ known as DJ E.
DJ E never let success and the admiration get to his head. He was humble enough to throw free parties for different events.
He's showing people you can be a business person, you can have fun, but you can still look out for your friends and community.
He was also looking out for his family.
Irvin was raising his daughter on his own.
He was a good person, just doing right by the community and doing right by his family.
And despite his busy schedule, he always made time for his new girlfriend, Janice Walters.
The relationship that Irvin had with Janice was a relationship where he could be who he genuinely was, different from what everyone saw in the spotlight.
But now, instead of building a future together, Irvin Holton lies dead outside his friend's home.
Irvin Holton was gunned down in the middle of the street on that Friday evening.
And Easton homicide detectives are quickly able to rule out a couple of potential scenarios.
When investigators showed up on the scene, they noticed that there were multiple gunshots to Irvin's body.
He had been hit several times in the legs, but the fatal one was to his chest.
The shot to his chest wasn't just a drive-by shooting, it was at a point-blank range.
He wasn't shot by an armed robber either.
He had his wallet on him. He had cash in his pockets.
This wasn't a robbery gone wrong.
This appeared to be a targeted homicide.
As detectives examine the area around his body, they make another discovery.
Detectives found several shell casings at the scene, and they noticed there were 2 different calibers.
We've got 2 guns.
Yep. At the scene, it was determined that there was 2 shooters.
Somehow, these perpetrators knew he was going to be there.
Now the question is, why?
What's the motive for this horrific crime?
Who would intentionally kill a guy like Irvin?
They hope to get answers from the last person to see Irvin alive, Susan Thornton.
Susan was in a state of complete shock. Out of nowhere, she had to desperately try to keep one of her good friends from bleeding out on her doorstep.
For her to witness something horrific like that and to hold this gentleman in her arms and when he's taking his last breath, for the rest of your life, that picture stays in your mind.
Pulling herself together, Susan tells investigators that Irvin wanted to borrow her car to get to an event he was DJing.
Susan Thornton had agreed that Irvin could use her car so he could transport all of his equipment to the show.
He called me right before he...
Did he seem upset at all?
No, he was excited for his show.
When detectives asked Susan, do you know of anybody that would want to hurt him? She said, no, this is a stand-up guy. He's loved by everybody.
But before detectives wrap up their interview with Susan, she is able to give them a name.
He's got a new girlfriend, too. She may know more.
Do you know her name?
Yeah, Janice Walters.
Investigators look at the person that's closest to them, the person that they spent the most time with, to get as much information as you possibly could.
Obviously, they wanted to talk to Janice.
Would you happen to have her number?
Yes, I do.
Detectives have their starting point, but as they're leaving the crime scene, they're handed a more promising lead.
A person approached the detectives on the scene.
He said he was with Irvin before the shot had happened.
Irvin had been hanging out with his friend Tommy Payne in a different section of Easton. Irvin needed to get over to St. Joseph Street so he could go visit Susan Thornton.
Tommy says he'd driven Irvin to a convenience store across the street from Susan's home.
They wanted to grab some beer to take to Irvin's show that night.
Mr. Holton walked in, he kind of made a loop through the business and then said to his buddy, hey, I'm gonna go across the street and pick up a car. And Tommy stayed there.
While he was in the store, Tommy heard a series of bangs.
Tommy didn't think it was gunshots that he heard.
I heard pop, pop. I thought it was fire. I'm like, that's not nobody shooting.
But just to be sure, he called Irvin's phone.
I said, let me call E to make sure, because that sound kind of close. I said, let me call E to make sure he's okay.
But Irvin didn't answer.
So Tommy actually walks outside and sees Irvin's collapse outside of Susan's residence.
I heard a sprint, he was laying down.
But that wasn't all he saw.
He sees two figures dressed in dark clothing running from the scene.
He didn't see any faces or anything specific, but what he did know was that they were all dressed in black.
Whoever it was, they knew he was going to have to get that car. You just got to figure out, you know what I mean?
He explained to them that Irvin was a stand-up guy, and he didn't know anybody that would want to harm him.
With one possible exception.
He told police that the only guy that probably would have a problem with Irvin was Keith Poole.
He tells police that the two men had been in a dispute for a very long time.
But recently, the feud had escalated.
There was an altercation.
Keith pulled a gun on him.
He'd threatened Irvin's life.
Will the truth be uncovered? Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
After 43-year-old Irvin Holton was gunned down outside an Easton, Pennsylvania residence, detectives are working quickly to find any lead to his killers.
Starting out with no leads in an investigation can be very frustrating.
Anyone could be involved in what happened here.
But now Irvin's friend, Tommy Payne, has just given detectives their first potential suspect.
Tommy was speculating that this could have been initiated by an individual he knew as Keith Poole.
Tommy tells the police that the two men had been in a dispute for a very long time.
But recently, the dispute took a serious turn.
He told me that he pulled the gun out on him.
What's more, Tommy claims to have seen Keith earlier near the scene of the murder.
He was around there earlier that day. I was with another guy in the car.
Thank you for your time.
Back at the station, detectives set their sights on Keith Poole, starting with his criminal history.
Keith Poole had had run-ins with the police, had done time in jail.
He'd gone to prison, but he'd been released on parole.
And when investigators comb through his social media, they discover a potential motive.
Janice Walters. Isn't that who Susan said Irvin was dating?
Yeah, I think it was.
Irvin had been involved in some level in a relationship with Mr. Poole's former girlfriend, Janice Walters.
Was it possible that the two men were feuding over Janice?
Detectives tried calling Janice to ask her to come to the station for an interview, but she didn't answer.
Hey, you've reached Janice. Sorry I missed you.
Trying to arrange an interview with Keith, however, is a little easier.
Keith is on probation. And when investigators contacted his probation officer, they found out that he actually skipped his meeting.
The meeting was scheduled for earlier that day.
Based on that information, officers issued a bolo for Keith that told police to arrest him on site.
While waiting to hear back from Janice and for Keith to be found, investigators searched for more clues in the 911 calls made around the time of Irvin's murder.
There were lots of calls that came into 911. Someone had to have seen something that was useful.
Luckily for detectives, one call gives them an eyewitness.
She was outside the same convenience store Irvin had visited just before his death when she heard gunshots go off.
I'm actually driving downtown. I heard the shooting and seen two black males running.
Her story matched what Tommy Payne told the police, but she was actually able to see where they were heading and what vehicle they fled in.
They ran over to Solomeo and got into a black Odyssey.
The woman's able to provide a description of the vehicle, although she couldn't make out the license plate.
With this new information, detectives hope area surveillance cameras can tell them more.
When detectives follow up with the restaurant, they discover that it had several surveillance cameras mounted around the building.
The managers for the restaurant were able to provide the footage from the day in question.
Like the caller reported, the video shows a dark van parked outside the restaurant shortly before the shooting.
Two individuals in dark clothing with hoods on exit the van.
Then the two men head off in the direction of the crime scene.
The two men begin jogging like they're in a hurry. And then they exit the view of the camera.
They aren't out of view for long.
Approximately a minute goes by, and these two individuals appear again.
The men re-enter the frame in a dead sprint back towards their vehicle, holding what police believe to be guns.
They are seen entering into this Honda Odyssey and driving away quickly from the restaurant.
The investigators are convinced these are the two men who killed Irvin.
But is one of them Keith Poole?
Detective Rush.
It's not long before detectives are able to ask him face to face.
Their bolo paid off. An officer was able to take Keith into custody.
When they sat down with him and explained the situation, he seemed genuinely shocked.
Wait, what? Y'all guys think I'm involved?
What were you?
No.
Keith tells the investigators there's no way he could be one of the killers. He says he was across town playing football with his girlfriend's kids at the time of the murder.
He also insists he had no reason to want to kill Irvin.
No. Listen. Yeah, we didn't get along, but that doesn't mean I want the guy dead.
Mr. Poole indicated that the prior incident between himself and Mr. Holton was blown out of proportion, that he did not bear any ill will towards Irvin.
He told them that he missed his parole check-in because he spent the night with his girlfriend the night before, and they just overslept.
An officer will be with you shortly.
But Keith could be lying. So while he sits in jail for violating his parole, detectives check his alibi.
After speaking to his friends and girlfriend, they determined there's no way he could have committed the murder that night.
They were able to cross him off the list as a suspect in this case.
It takes the wind out of your sails. I got this guy in my sights, and it turns out that you're incorrect.
Still unable to make contact with Irvin's girlfriend, Janice, detectives try another approach.
Hoping to turn up some information, they reach out to the local news media and appeal to the public for help.
The effort pays off.
Detective Snyder.
They got a call from someone claiming to be one of Irvin's friends.
He tells police they should be looking at Jana's ex-boyfriend, Patrick Hughes.
And what makes you think he might have something to do with this?
He says that Janice had started dating Irvin while Patrick was serving time in prison.
He had been arrested on a narcotics charge.
But he'd heard that Patrick is out now.
Patrick had been released from prison a few weeks earlier.
Mr. Hughes was back in the area.
He wasn't happy that Janice had started seeing someone else.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
The investigation into the shooting death of Irvin Holton hit a major setback when detectives learned their prime suspect, Keith Poole, had an airtight alibi for the time of the murder.
That's when a new tip comes in from one of Irvin's friends.
There's a possible connection of a scorned lover.
The caller tells police that Irvin's girlfriend, Janice Walters, previously dated a man named Patrick Hughes.
According to him, Patrick was angry that Janice had started seeing Irvin while he was in prison.
And you say he got out of prison a few weeks ago?
I'll check the data release.
Could Patrick be one of the men on the surveillance tape?
Do you know what kind of car Patrick drives? Is it a dark-colored van?
The tipster says no. However, he tells police that Janice's best friend, Melinda Owens, drives a vehicle that matches the description.
After the phone call, detectives reach out to Patrick Hughes to get him in for an interview.
They couldn't get a hold of Patrick, so they decided to look into the other lead that Irvin's friend gave them first.
They pay a visit to Melinda Owens' home to get a look at the car.
And detectives find it parked in front of her house.
It appears to be the same make and model as the one seen in the surveillance footage.
Can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. Is this your vehicle?
Yeah, what's going on?
When detectives explain, Melinda initially says that there's no way her van could be on video from that evening.
Went shopping that day, Black Friday sales. Then I came home and that was that.
No. Babe, you don't remember?
But her boyfriend, Omar Robinson, tells her she's mistaken.
I had the van that night.
Mr. Robinson says, I actually had the van in the evening hours between about 5 and 6 p.m.
He says he had used the vehicle to drive to a gas station around sundown that night.
A gas station on the opposite side of town.
Yeah, he's right. I just forgot.
Alarm bells immediately start to go off for the detectives.
Was Melinda trying to cover for Omar by claiming she had the van all night? Or is Omar protecting her?
When you're in a relationship, you're inclined to protect your partner because that's what relationships are about.
Janice was Melinda's best friend. So was it possible that Janice had been avoiding detectives because she was involved in Irvin's murder?
Hoping to sort out the truth, detectives decide they need to talk to Melinda and Omar separately.
They confront Omar with the footage.
Let me show you some of the footage from that evening. See this van here?
He indicated to him that they had surveillance footage of the individuals who committed this murder running through the Solomeo parking lot and getting into a Honda Odyssey van, and that it was their belief that this van was the exact same van that was currently parked in Mr. Robinson's driveway.
He could tell Omar starting to get nervous.
Why don't you tell me what happened that evening?
Mr. Robinson indicates that they were mistaken about that belief and that he had nothing to do with this murder.
While detectives were suspicious of Omar, they had to check out his story before they could make an arrest.
For your time. We appreciate it.
After talking to Omar, detectives pay a visit to the gas station where he claims he was at the time of the murder.
None of the employees remember seeing Omar, and there weren't any security cameras that could prove he was there.
With nothing to back up his story, the investigators are even more convinced he's lying, but they'll need more evidence to make an arrest.
And a few days later, they catch their next break.
Patrick Hughes has been arrested on unrelated drug charges.
With Patrick in custody, investigators sit down with him for an interview.
So, did you know him at all, DJE?
I don't know nothing about him. I know he spent records.
Patrick tells them that he hardly knew Irvin and denies playing any part in the murder.
He also denies being jealous that Irvin was dating his ex-girlfriend, Janice Walters.
Can you see somebody shooting somebody over a girl?
I can't see me shooting nobody over a girl.
But when the detectives asked him where he was on the night of the murder, Patrick doesn't have a good answer.
I might have been in the city. About 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Sometime throughout in that area. It was getting about dark around that time.
It seems like he's being deliberately vague about his whereabouts.
So we know you're in Easton. You're saying that's quite possible.
Exactly where I was doing what and what home, I can't really specify that to you.
But detectives keep pressing.
Do you know Omar?
Omar, my friend?
Yeah.
Did you see Omar and all that then?
Yeah, I don't know. We were talking about 2 weeks ago.
His response raises a red flag for detectives.
When detectives spoke to Omar, he didn't mention Patrick at all, let alone possibly hanging out with him on the day of the murder.
So you're saying you did not shoot E?
I'm saying I didn't have anything to do with none of it.
If Omar did, would you tell me? Say Omar was involved, just for the sake of argument.
I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
I can't say that.
And again, Patrick insists he would never shoot someone over a woman.
If I wanted to get back with her, I would be talking to her. More likely, I already slept with her. I don't want her.
With no evidence directly linking Patrick Hughes to the shooting, detectives sent him back to jail, charged only with a drug offense.
Police don't have enough to arrest either Patrick or Omar Robinson for murder.
Omar has no clear connection to Irvin at all, and Patrick insisted that he doesn't care about his ex dating Irvin. So neither man has a particularly compelling motive.
But finally, Janice Walters is back in Easton.
She was out of town visiting family for Thanksgiving when she got news of Irvin's death, and she decided to stay a few extra days.
And the reason why may give detectives their missing connection.
She was scared.
According to Janice, Patrick Hughes was obsessed with her.
We will return with more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Detectives investigating the murder of Irvin Holton have just discovered that his girlfriend's previous relationship with Patrick Hughes wasn't what it seemed.
Her relationship with Mr. Hughes was not a healthy relationship.
He was very possessive.
Janice said Patrick had abused her emotionally and verbally, and sometimes even physically.
I don't want to be with him by any means necessary ever, and I've told him that numerous times.
And last year, when Patrick went to prison, she saw a chance to end it once and for all. But Patrick pushed back.
He continued to pursue Janice, even though it was clear that she wanted to move on.
He started calling me. I don't put any money on the phone.
So Patrick began flooding her with letters from prison.
Some of the letters are mean and nasty, and some are claiming me, and you'll see. Yeah.
Ms. Walters actually turned over all of those letters to Easton Police.
The letters make it clear Patrick was lying when he said he was over Janice.
He's not going to admit to being obsessed with this girl, but it's in the writings that he sent to her.
In these letters were professions of love. They were also filled with statements that were threatening in nature.
He felt if he couldn't have her, then no one else could.
And recently, Patrick's letters had become even more sinister.
Even after his most recent drug arrest a few days earlier, Patrick was still sending her letters from jail.
He was telling Janice that he wants to change and that he is done with shooting people and he wants to move forward with her.
When did he ever shoot anyone?
He was never charged for anything like that.
Was he referencing Irvin's murder?
So to mention shooting someone, it was almost like an unconscious confession.
Detectives will need concrete evidence to back up any suspicions.
They hope to find proof that would put both Patrick Hughes and Omar Robinson in the getaway vehicle used by the shooters, Melinda's van.
With the search warrant, police conducted a forensic search of the vehicle.
To the naked eye, it appears clean, but detectives have a theory.
When a gun is fired, chemicals are expelled in a cloud. Those chemicals can adhere to any number of surfaces,
including the hand holding the gun.
There's residue that's going to be on you and what you touch.
They swabbed the outside of the driver's door, the inside of the driver's door, as well as the steering wheel.
Detectives were right. The swabs pick up gunshot residue on the steering wheel.
Since Omar admitted he'd driven the van that night, it definitely connected him to the shooting, but it didn't implicate Patrick Hughes.
They needed something that would put Patrick with Omar on the night of the shooting.
So detectives turned to Patrick and Omar's phone records.
Whenever a cell phone is utilized, cell phones will bounce off of nearby cell towers. You can track the movement of a cellular phone as it bounces off different towers.
If you're making calls, it could tell you almost to the street where you're at.
The records clearly put Patrick and Omar in the area at the time the murder was committed.
Our two primary targets are close enough to where Irvin Holton is shot and killed that they were bouncing off the nearest cell tower.
They were in almost constant contact around the time Irvin was killed.
If you're involved in a crime with someone else, you want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Even more telling is the gap in their communications.
There's a block of time at the exact moment where the individuals are seen on camera running through the parking lot. There is no activity whatsoever on the phones. Then 10 minutes later, they pick up again. But during the time when Mr. Irvin Holton was murdered, nothing.
For detectives, it's a smoking gun.
Aside from the information from Miss Walters, the letters that they collected, aside from the video surveillance, now they've got the cell phone records, putting our two prime suspects not only in the vicinity, but communicating extensively with one another right before and right after the homicide.
But then they realize there's one problem.
The cell tower hit showed that after the shooting, Omar's phone left the scene in the opposite direction of Patrick's.
Which means Patrick Hughes wasn't in the van.
He was driving in a separate vehicle.
They know Omar was the one driving the van, which meant Patrick was not one of the gunmen. He was just the ringleader.
Omar and another individual actually did the murder.
One of the killers was still on the loose.
Will the truth be uncovered? Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Investigators with the Easton, Pennsylvania Police Department have used cell phone data to place their primary suspects at the scene of Irvin Holton's murder.
We've got Patrick Hughes and Omar Robinson bouncing off the nearest cell tower.
However, the cell phone records also pose a problem.
Detectives found security footage that showed the two gunmen fleeing the scene together in a van. But the phone records showed Patrick and Omar's phone leaving in different directions.
So detectives are now looking for a third accomplice.
The obvious way to identify the third man would be to get Omar or Patrick to give up the name.
But despite repeated questioning, the men never identified the other gunman.
Neither one of them rolled on the other person that was involved.
It's disappointing, but detectives are still convinced they have the man who sent Omar and the second shooter to kill Irvin Holton.
Mr. Hughes had organized this. Mr. Hughes was the mastermind behind it.
He was so obsessed with Janice that he was willing to kill to have her.
Patrick Hughes and Omar Robinson are charged with first-degree murder.
Hughes was charged on the grounds of accomplice liability. If you aid and abet somebody in committing a crime, you are just as responsible for committing it as if you pulled the trigger yourself.
And on January 12, 2017, Patrick Hughes and Omar Robinson both stand trial for the murder of Irvin Holton.
In their opening statement, prosecutors told the jury that the murder was the work of a man driven by jealousy and obsession.
Janice Walters takes the stand and describes Patrick's obsessive behavior toward her.
One of the things that we're looking at is wanting to constantly control everything and all the people around you.
So the threatening letters he'd written her from prison are read in court.
He's writing these letters even though she's very clearly disinterested.
When he got out of prison, he just picked right back up with his compulsive behaviors.
And at some point, Patrick decided that the only way to keep Janice was to eliminate her new boyfriend.
Patrick killing Irvin could have been a threat and form of control for Janice to say, watch out, this is what can happen if you are with someone else.
To help make it happen, he recruited his friend, Omar Robinson.
He's got to go. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know about this, man.
Hey, you owe me.
If he had anything over Omar, he probably really used and exploited that.
It could be as simple as he owed him some money, or maybe he was bullied into doing it.
Don't sweat it. It won't be just you, okay?
But it wouldn't be Patrick at Omar's side when he shot Irvin.
Patrick Hughes had utilized Omar Robinson and a third unknown individual to actually perpetrate the shooting.
It's hard to understand how was he able to get them to carry it out.
He was that manipulative and that good at getting people to do what he wanted.
The prosecution believes that Patrick Hughes started to recruit accomplices right after his release.
He got out of prison and was outraged that his woman was with someone else and immediately began plotting Irvin's murder.
All they needed was the perfect opportunity.
They're not sure if Patrick had been stalking Irvin, waiting on the perfect time to do this, or if they just happened on him that evening. But either way, they decided to set their plan in motion on that Black Friday.
He's walking across the street right now.
Patrick guided the gunman straight to Irvin.
Yeah, I'm walking up now.
He was taken down by getting shot in the leg.
And then the two gunmen moved closer.
Go, please, go!
Prosecutors didn't know which man fired the fatal shot into Irvin's chest, but they knew who'd gotten them to do it.
It was clear Patrick Hughes was the reason Irvin Holton was being shot and killed.
The defense argues that the prosecution's case relies too much on hearsay, coincidence, and speculation.
The primary defense argument would create reasonable doubt, to take each piece of evidence and isolate it from the rest. Try and say that they don't all add up to anything.
But the jury disagrees.
When you see how each piece of evidence connects to the other piece of evidence, you see beyond a reasonable doubt the guilt of these two people.
And after just 2 days of deliberation, Patrick Hughes and Omar Robinson are both found guilty of first-degree murder.
They were both sentenced to life in prison without parole. They will stay in prison until the day they die.
The second gunman, however, is still at large.
There's one person that's out there that was involved in this thing that's still walking around.
Police haven't given up on bringing that individual to justice.
But even bringing the third man to justice won't make up for what they took from Irvin's family, friends, and community.
Irvin was a single dad raising his daughter alone. She was already in a situation where she wasn't being raised by her mother, and now she loses her father to such tragedy.
Even though the case is over, even though justice was achieved and people were held responsible, it still doesn't bring back the victim.
With unwavering determination, detectives diligently unraveled the heartbreaking details of this tragedy that has left an indelible mark on a family and a community. Irvin D.J.E. Holton was not only a devoted father, but also a beacon of inspiration for many. The senseless act of violence took away a man who was deeply needed in the lives of his loved ones and cherished by everyone who knew him. The memory of Irvin D.J.E. Holton will forever resonate in the hearts of those who loved him, reminding us of the profound impact one person can have on so many. Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
She was a college senior on the road to success.
She was very serious about her studies.
She was on track to become a doctor.
She was about to graduate.
But when she turns up missing, it's every co-ed's nightmare.
There's a high alert on campus.
It was almost as if she had disappeared into thin air.
In a bustling college town, a bright and ambitious young woman mysteriously vanishes without a trace, leaving her friends concerned. The atmosphere is heavy with worry, and the mystery of her disappearance looms over the community like a dark cloud. What really happened? And what happens when love becomes fatal? Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.